how do we take this new thing that God is doing and make sure that we do it well? A few weeks ago, Daniel Vestal and I were in the middle of a conference call with several pastors when one of them asked me a question. What did I think the church in the United States brought to the table when it came to partnership with the global church? I must confess that I started to say money, and I would have been wrong, because then it hit me. The great gift that the U.S. church brings to the table of global mission engagement is the gift of unbridled enthusiasm. We believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Church of Jesus Christ can change the world. And we believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are an integral part of that change. We are doers and not hearers only. Our hymns betray us. We'll work till Jesus comes. To the work, we are servants of God. We believe it can be done, and because we believe it with such passion, it is infectious. Other people catch it. I bump into U.S. Christians all over the world, business people, diplomats, missionaries, churches on mission trips, recent college graduates working for nonprofits, students with a backpack and a Bible out on the edge of nowhere because they think it matters. Take this group that was up here tonight, for example. They're not up here because CBF has a bunch of money to fund what they do. There are networks of you gathered around them to ensure that they, together with you, are able to do the thing to which God has called them. The global mission offering will only support a very small part of what these folks do. Computers, member care, perhaps health insurance. Churches and individuals or these folks themselves will bring the rest to the table. These field personnel tonight are being called out of networks just like the one you saw blessed here tonight, on particular ministry, focused on that ministry in particular parts of the world, as much as they are being called by CBF, or they are creating these networks in order to do this thing to which God has called them. It truly is something to celebrate, this passion, this energy that drives them. 5 years ago, I must confess that I thought that the future of the global mission engagement was going to be about local churches engaging the world on mission with God. But I don't think just that anymore. It will be bigger than that, and it will be broader than that. The future of the global mission engagement is going to be about networks, about herds, if you will, of churches and field personnel and partners coming together in true collaboration to transform the world. We are here this week to celebrate CBF's 20th anniversary. This celebration leads us to ask the question, so what is CBF's future? In my opinion, it's the wrong question. The real question ought to be, what is the future that God has in mind? What is it that God is envisioning right now? And how do we conform to that future? How do we align ourselves with God's purposes and God's intention? It is clear to me that the right approach in the 21st century is this herd approach. Joining together in communities of engagement that emerge out of our God-given passion and that aren't owned by any of us. And if we truly believe that this is the way, then we ought to embrace such a way fully, boldly, and courageously. We ought to embrace it with the same spirit that led Anne and Adoniram Judson to sail for India in 1813. And we ought to embrace it with the same spirit that causes an 18-year-old to see a need today and respond to it. This is the spirit that is at the very core of who we are as God's church. It is my conviction that if we listen to the Spirit of God and move in concert with that Spirit in our day, then perhaps unlike in any previous age, these words of Paul from 1 Corinthians 12 will be fleshed out in the midst of a networks-based future. Now, there are varieties of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are varieties of services, but the same Lord. And there are varieties of activities, but it is the same God who activates them in all of us. To each is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good. To one is given through the Spirit the utterance of wisdom, and to another the utterance of knowledge according to the same Spirit. To another faith by the same Spirit, to another gifts of healing by the one Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another the discernment of spirits, to another various kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. All of these are activated by the same Spirit who allots to each one of us individually, just as the Spirit chooses. Maybe it isn't always best to drink upstream from the herd. Maybe now we live in a day when it is best to remain with the herd, to drink with it, to learn from it, to share what we know, and to move together as the Spirit directs the work. Maybe, perhaps today, it's not about prophets. It's not about martyrs or priests or monks or popes or reformers or revivalists or missionaries or any of us individually or even as local church or CBS. It is now about the passion that drives us together, directed by a single Spirit in work that is not owned, work that is shaped and formed by God, and by which we enable a mission that is far beyond any possible human control or comprehension.